Have you ever seen a lake that looks like it is floating above the ocean? Not next to it, not feeding into it, not simply overlooking it. Floating above it. In the Faroe Islands, there is a place where the landscape seems to break one of the oldest rules your brain trusts. Water should settle. Horizons should make sense. Distance should explain itself. But at Sørvagsvatn, none of that feels stable. From the right angle, this lake appears to hang impossibly high above the Atlantic, like a piece of the earth has lifted into the air and refused to come back down. And the strangest part is this. The illusion is so convincing that even when you know it is not real, your eyes still do not fully believe the truth. Far out in the North Atlantic, the Faroe Islands already feel like they belong to another system of nature. The light is colder here. The wind does not move gently. The cliffs do not slope into the sea, they drop. Everything feels sharpened, stripped down, exposed. And on the island of Vágar, hidden inside this severe landscape, lies the largest lake in the Faroes. At first, it seems calm, quiet, almost ordinary. A long body of still water resting in grass and stone. But that ordinary feeling only lasts until you reach the edge where the illusion begins. Because Sørvagsvatn does not reveal itself all at once. It waits for perspective. From most positions, it is simply a beautiful lake. But as you move toward the cliff called Traelanipa, the geometry of the land starts to deceive you. The ocean falls away below. The cliff line hides the true drop. The lake stretches behind that edge. And suddenly, it looks wrong. Not slightly wrong, completely wrong. The surface of the lake seems lifted high above the sea, as if an invisible platform is holding it in midair. It feels less like geography and more like a glitch in reality. And this is why the place spreads so easily online. One photograph, one angle, one frozen frame, and the world starts asking the same question. How is that possible? But that is exactly what makes this place so fascinating. It is not magic, it is not fake, and it is not a trick built by editing software. It is a battle between the shape of the land and the way the human brain interprets depth. Your eyes are trying to measure a three-dimensional world from a limited viewpoint, and for a moment, they fail. The cliffs around the lake create a false relationship between the water and the sea below. The distance disappears. The vertical scale becomes distorted. And your mind fills the gap with the only explanation that seems visually possible. The lake must be floating. But it is not floating. It only feels that way because the earth has positioned everything with cruel precision. The lake sits above the ocean, yes, but not in the impossible way your eyes first claim. There is real height here, but not the absurd height the illusion suggests. And that small difference between reality and perception is where the entire mystery lives. Sørvagsvatn is not extraordinary because it defies nature. It is extraordinary because it reveals how easily nature can defy us. And then there is what happens at the far end of the lake. The water does not stay still forever. It runs outward and disappears through Bøsdalafossur, a waterfall that spills directly into the Atlantic. That detail matters because it breaks the illusion in the most dramatic way possible. If the floating lake feels like suspended calm, the waterfall feels like proof that gravity was there all along, waiting patiently in the background. The fantasy collapses into motion. Water rushes over stone. White spray falls into dark ocean. And the place transforms from visual puzzle to raw physical landscape again. But even then, the unease does not disappear. Because Traelanipa is not just a viewpoint. It is a cliff with a name often translated as Slave Cliff, tied to an old and unsettling legend. Whether people come here for the photograph, the hike, or the mythology, they end up standing at the edge of a place where beauty and discomfort are inseparable. The grass is soft, the air is clean, the view is unbelievable. And yet the drop below is violent, absolute, final. It is the kind of landscape that keeps reminding you that wonder and danger are often only a few steps apart. That is part of what gives Sørvagsvatn its off-the-map power. This is not just a pretty place with a clever camera angle. It is a location that exposes something deeper about how humans move through the world. We trust what we see. We build confidence from perspective. We assume the eye is honest. But here, standing above the Atlantic, even your own vision becomes unstable. The lake looks impossible. The cliff feels closer than it is. The ocean feels lower than it should be. Nothing is lying to you exactly. But nothing is telling the full truth either. And that makes this place quietly terrifying. Because illusion in a controlled environment is entertaining. Illusion on the edge of a wind-beaten cliff is something else. The Faroe Islands are known for weather that changes fast, and places like this can turn from peaceful to hostile with almost no warning. Wind can shove, rain can slick the ground, fog can erase distance. One careless step, one attempt to get a better angle, one moment of trusting the image in your head more than the ground under your boots, and the beauty of the place stops being abstract. It becomes physical, immediate, unforgiving. So the real question is not just why this lake looks like it floats above the ocean. The real question is why that illusion affects us so strongly. Maybe it is because we live in a world built on angles now. Screens flatten reality every day. Photos persuade us more quickly than landscapes do. We scroll, we judge, we believe, and we move on. But Sørvagsvatn forces a pause. It makes you confront the gap between image and truth. It reminds you that perspective can dominate reality so completely that even a still lake can look supernatural. And in a strange way, that makes this place feel modern. Not because it changed, but because we did. That is its impact on modern life. Sørvagsvatn is a natural landmark, but it also feels like a lesson for the age of cameras, algorithms, and instant impressions. A place like this goes viral because it challenges the eye in exactly the way the internet rewards. It is shareable, unbelievable, and visually clean. But when people actually stand there, the experience becomes more than a viral image. It becomes a confrontation with perception itself. In a time when images often outrun truth, this lake is a reminder that seeing something clearly is not always the same as understanding it. Even the name of the lake reflects that instability. Depending on who you ask, it is Sørvagsvatn or Trælanípa. Some locals avoid the argument and simply call it the lake. That detail feels small, but it fits perfectly here. Even the identity of this place resists a single clean frame. The image is debated, the name is debated, the meaning changes with where you stand. And maybe that is the most honest thing about it. Sørvagsvatn is not a place that offers one truth. It offers a shifting relationship between truth and viewpoint. So, if you ever find yourself looking at that famous image and thinking it cannot be real, that reaction is exactly the point. The ocean is real. The lake is real. The cliff is real. The waterfall is real. What fails is not the landscape. What fails is certainty. And maybe that is why this place lingers in the mind long after the photograph is gone. Not because it is the most violent place on Earth, not because it is the most remote, but because it quietly proves how fragile our confidence can be. A little distance, a little height, a precise line of stone, and suddenly the world looks impossible. If a single lake can make the Earth feel visually broken, then what happens when the land is not just deceptive, but truly destroyed by fire? In the next video, we go to Iceland's Laki craters, a volcanic field so scarred, so empty, and so unnaturally silent that it feels less like a place on Earth and more like the remains of a world the planet abandoned. Lakey craters. Iceland. Why does this volcano field feel abandoned by Earth?